Good morning, Scott.
Oh, good morning, Sid.
How are you?
I'm doing just fine. We are in the midst of a snowstorm here in central Wisconsin in
Mm.
the USA. Interesting day. This is officially the first day of spring break for the
Mhm.
schools. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a different spring
Yeah.
so far.
And you reckon it's the last snowfall or will be more?
Oh, as of 2 weeks ago, I met for the first time with my under 19 boys team,
Mhm.
and we were talking about, they were asking, "Hey, can we get outside? Can we get outside and start training?" At the time, we were at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so
Yeah.
everything was looking good. And I did send a message to everyone: Mother Nature is either going to give us an early spring or she's just teasing with us. And yesterday I wrote to everyone, it looked like she was just teasing with us.
Mm.
So we'll get outside and start training whenever we can. Wait,
Fantastic. Scott, I was reflecting on something you mentioned recently that a coach's role isn't to tell players what to do, but to put them in a position to learn. And when I read that, I thought that sounds less like coaching and more like leadership.
Sid, I used that when I was in the classroom. I used to teach high school social studies and history. I used it raising my 5 kids, and I've
Mhm.
used it throughout my time as a coach. I found that not expecting to teach them, but to put them in a position to learn, it does take a bit longer. It does, because there is excess baggage or historic baggage coming from these players. They're not used to it. About being put in a position where it's expected to make mistakes in training. So that's part of it as well. So I back off on what I'm doing. So by putting them in a position to learn, it's trying to stay, it's kind of like parenting and staying 2, 3 steps ahead of your kid when you want them to experience something, is to make sure that everything is safe and they're going to get a good positive experience out of it. But
Yeah.
I have found throughout the years, my method does work. When it does work, it is rock solid, because then the players are much more confident in themselves, in their play, and also in the team. Besides, they're more confident in me because I've shown them the trust coming from me that they're probably not getting most other places, especially from their past coaches. That's not the norm.
Yeah. So I want your take for this following question: parenting, coaching.
Yeah.
What's tough? What's difficult?
Raising 5 kids that all came home from foreign countries, but luckily those kids all came home after diapers. That was great.
Mhm.
Uh, I see so much similarity. I was recently asked by someone from Goal magazine who contacted me. They're doing a story and asked me about the flip side of that. When I was coaching university players versus youth players, was there a difference? And I said, no, there's really not. I mean, intricacies, of course, and you have to be a bit more patient with, say, 12-year-olds. But the same with me raising my kids, putting them in a position to learn. One thing I learned, Sid, is because things are different today, I had a sit down discussion with each one of my kids about, as you're growing up, don't be afraid to step over anyone else. Because if they're lazy, they don't have a work ethic, the same work ethic as you are, or they're not as outgoing and self confident, don't be afraid to jump over them, especially when it's going into a career. That's part of it as well. You have to be able to, but at the same time, help lead them, because those kids now are leaders. Looking back when I started coaching when I was a freshman in college in the 1980s, those kids raised children. Some of them went out to be coaches, officials for soccer. Some of them might actually be soccer grandparents now, for all it needs. But I've used that for all this amount of time, and it seems to work well. And I think they carry it into the personal lives.
You agree with me, Scott, if I say the best leadership class or training, if you're lucky to have kids and raise kids, it starts from there. It starts from home, raising kids,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
because
Most
there is no
definitely.
silver bullet when it comes to parenting. It doesn't matter how many books
Oh,
you
God,
you
no.
read.
It all comes down to life experiences. And
Right.
I wrote one part of in my book, Play from Your Heart, that we are as adults who we were as children, because that
Mhm.
formed our base. And what we are as parents, we have to be able to help our children, I believe, create a strong base with plenty of experiences, good, bad, everything that they can carry forward with them. Because again, I think that we are who we started off as. And we just happen to be building more of the structure on top of that base that was formed when we were kids.
Mhm. You know, because when you get the news that your partner is expecting, such a
Mm.
fantastic news, you know? And then as a parent, especially as a father, you ask, God, I want to be a good father, a good mentor.
Mm.
I want to be a good father. And then you see them for the first time, and that question never stops. Never stops. You put
Mm.
yourself, you question yourself constantly. Is it,
Mm.
how I say, do people or do, let's say, parents, and this is an advice for youngsters, young adults, do they need to stress a lot about that? About
Are
that
you talking about
question? Yes.
from the parent's point of view? I don't think so. I think that intrinsically, just being human, we were born with certain characteristics. There is some learning that can be done in the classroom, so to speak, through books, that sort of thing. But I think it's so experiential
Yeah.
as parents. One thing I learned too, and I've done, maybe it's me getting older and with coaching as well. Um, I admit to mistakes because that shows our human side, that as long as kids and soccer players here, football players, see us as human, then again, that base is being formed realistically, I believe. And I think that's part of also my theory on putting my players and my kids too in a position to learn, because the baggage that we collect, everything that they collect as children, helps them again have that strong base upon which they build as they get older and older and become parents themselves.
Right. Scott, your story runs even deeper than what you said earlier, because at one point in your life, everything changed overnight. Your career, your identity, even your body. And yet somehow you made your way back into the game and into a leadership role. So I'm really curious about something. How does someone rebuild their life after something like that and still lead others?
I did something stupid right from the start, Sid. I focused I focused on getting back to work, because at the time I just finished my first year coaching at the university level. We were nationally ranked. So my focus was that, and I didn't work on me, my heart, my head. That ended up, I continued leading the program successfully for 4 more years, but I ended up running into the brick wall depression, as I call it. And really, Sid, it took decades for me to fully come round. Part of it being, again, experiential on, so I went from a white guy in athletics, just had to win in order to keep climbing up the ladder, to being viewed. I just soon as right away, I was being tabbed or viewed, treated as a disabled person. And I was discriminated against quite often. And learn to sometimes brush it off, but also I'll learn to use it to my advantage. If I could tell another person's thrown off by shaking my prosthetic hand, then before a match, that tells me something about the coach. So it's been a learning process, a long learning process for me as well, to finally come around to being who I was prior to the illness. It's been one heck of a ride, man.
Yeah. Scott, this is going to be an interesting conversation. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
The following is a conversation with Scott Martin, an award winning soccer coach, educator, author, and disability advocate. Welcome to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Sid Bensalah. Today, we examine resilience, leadership, and how sport can help rebuild identity after significant adversity. Thank you so much for tuning in, subscribing, and supporting the show. Your support helps us bring authentic voices, real stories, and conversation that go beyond the game. If you would like to support the show, please check the episode description. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sid.
You've lived several lives in one career. You were building a successful coaching career, then suddenly a life-threatening illness changed everything. You lost your hands, parts of your feet, and a moment it looked like your life in soccer might be completely over, but somehow you found your way back to the game. So maybe the best place to begin this conversation, Scott, before the illness, before everything changed in your life, who was Scott Martin?
Oh, I was a person that was extremely driven because I grew up later in soccer. When I was 16, I was asked to play with the men's club here in Wisconsin and competing against men that were 25, 30 in their 30s, former professionals, former national team level players or club level players from Europe. So I learned early on what it would take as an athlete to be competitive when we were successful. And that always stayed with me through college when I played, after college when I was playing. I would take it into the classroom when I was teaching social studies and history in the high school, and building soccer programs at the high school level and also through clubs. Getting an opportunity to coach at the college level was the next start for me, I guess you could say, as the next base for me to jump from. I started as a head coach at what we have here in the United States as Division III, which is non-scholarship, more focus on academics, but you still have to try to win. I mean, that's part of it. I was using that as a manner in which, or a means for me to jump off from. My objective long-term was first win a national championship at Division III level, and then work my way up, earn it to go up to Division I level, and build national champions there. So that's who I was. And basically, overnight, that confidence was gone. And, first of all, I had to try to figure out what the heck I was going to do with the rest of my life. But I did actually coach from a wheelchair for a period, because it's just, I love the game. I love the game, and I love the competition and helping my players achieve things and provide them with educational opportunities in their lives.
First drew you to soccer.
Oh, the art. I grew up at a time when basically we get soccer over here in the United States on Saturdays. There was a thing called Wide World of Sports. Every once in a while, we'd get some of the World Cup matches. I fell in love with the Dutch total football style, total voetbal, Johan Cruyff, and there was something about the art. I looked at soccer. I saw soccer as a Jackson Pollock drip painting, a famous artist from the 1940s and 1950s. And I looked at it as if you assigned a color to each player on the field, and every time they touched the ball, that color would be released. Mm-hmm. That would end up being like a Jackson Pollock painting. And that's how I saw it, the flow of how the game was. It was more artistic to me than just an athletic event. There was art involved. There was music involved, and all the creativity that players were allowed. I was lucky to have coaches that promoted, they expected, and they gave you the reins to be creative on the field, which I fell in love with immediately.
When did you realize coaching was something you wanted to pursue seriously?
When I went to college, I announced my major would be in broadcast journalism. And my first coach there, when I showed up, said he knew I was a forward. And he said to me, I want you to take everything you know in attacking and turn it on 180 degrees. I want you to run the defense. Like, what the heck? And then it started sinking in, it makes some sense. He was a sociology professor. I think he also dabbled in psychology, especially in athletics. And he did some
But he saw you on
psychology
the
on me.
pitch, or
Yeah. Yeah. He had known who I
okay,
was and what I was. And
right?
it was there during our very first training session. I
Mhm.
don't know if we were missing something in the back, but he did something that really opened my mind to
Mhm.
this game. I started going to the library and jotting down things, and I came up with a diagram of an area in the penalty box where for every goal scored in this, I called the scoring zone, it takes 15 shots outside the scoring zone to score a goal. And I found this when I started coaching 10-year-olds. I found this later when I was coaching at the high school level, at the university level. I noticed that as well at the professional national team level. It's generally around the same thing. So simplification, attack the scoring zone, and we defend the scoring zone. So there's a lot that goes along with it. I look at the game, Sid, as not being linear, but being angular. So
Right.
I want to see triangles, shapes, triangles that are changing, constantly changing, but still the triangular form.
Right.
With what we're doing, I've got something here for you. This new team I have, so I won a state championship with 17-year-olds 2 years ago. We played with 7 midfielders, 2 backs, 1 forward. We did a lot of shifting. We're gonna go with 2 backs and 8 midfielders, Sid. So I'm really going to be tapping into Cruyff did with Pep Guardiola, um, what he's done at Man City, what he did at Barcelona as well, and what he learned from Cruyff. So I'm going into these things. I call me crazy, I don't care, but I see some things, and I've proven the theory, at least with 7 midfielders, works. You can dominate the midfield, and then start the counterattack from 40 yards away from their goal. So it works. It works. And now I'm going to challenge players again to, okay, let's go with 8 midfielders. And there's a lot of shifting and overlapping of things going on, but it's based on uh, the triangular patterns that we see on the field. This is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Right. And that triangle, is it constantly moving and shifting, or
Oh, yes.
depend on each
All
team, each game?
It depends, some of it depends on the opponent, but we have basic concepts that we start with. We first of all, in theory, we want to split the field in half to right and left. So by trying to push the opponent to go right or left, and males especially, they will go towards a place that has the least amount of resistance. So
Right.
therefore, if we provide a door, an open door, there you go, buddy, come on over here. Then we start to apply more pressure because that touch line, the sideline, becomes an extra defender for us. So I've
Interesting.
seen it. I've seen it as many as 34 times we counted in one match when we won state, that an opponent made mistakes just because they started losing thought. They started making mistakes. There was at least half of those mistakes. They gave us the ball as a throw in because they didn't know what to do. They got flustered. Oh, Sid, it's so much fun. When the players get flustered, then it leads to the coach getting flustered. And then the coach starts yelling at the players and the players starts yelling at each other. Oh, I love it. I just love it because we're ripping them apart. And
Right.
when you're playing at a bunch of males that have lost their confidence and they're upset, oh God, they're terrible. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then we
Tell
also
me
gain
about it.
confidence. Oh, it's
Yeah.
beautiful to watch the kids because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about my mission is not to teach you, but put you in a position to learn. These kids now, these are a new group of kids I've never worked with before. And then I'm starting to plant seeds with them. I give them diagrams on how things go. We went over on the board with moving pieces. Next step is to see this out on the field on how they're going to do it, on how the movements go and how the triangles are formed and shaped and moved. Well, we'll start from low pressure and low numbers and build it to higher pressure and higher numbers until hopefully, our first match is going to be, ta-da, now let's see what we have. It's going to be interesting.
You mentioned a couple of names out there, your teacher and some coaches as well, known coaches. Was there a mentor or specific coach really influenced your philosophy early on?
One gentleman, I do not remember his name, because I grew up here in the States. I played football, basketball, baseball, soccer. There was a baseball coach when I think I was 12 years old.
Mhm.
And my brother was 13 at the time, and he wasn't playing on the same team as I was on. But this gentleman knew that my mother was divorced. I'm not going to say he was hitting up with my mom, uh, but he had a son that was playing on the same team, and he asked my brother and I if we wanted to go to a fair with him, and he paid for everything. And it was just, I never forget that guy and what he did to help. And that's become me, what I do as well. I mean, in the classroom, I mean, I guess somebody could easily say, I've adopted 5 children, 2 from Romania, 3 from Ethiopia. So I guess I carried, there's an example for you of how that, maybe it's that guy that had an effect on me. It's not the
Yeah.
playing aspect of it. It's the
Mhm.
personal side of it. He showed me the personal side, I think the importance of it. Because here's another example, Sid, and I'm having a hard time with this new group of players. They want to call me coach. No, we're going to be working together. And for you to feel comfortable in this system and how we train, you must start calling me Scott. I think that that's very
Interesting.
important.
Okay.
It has to happen. And we had a meeting. Parents were there too. I said, you have to as well. If you don't, then you're going to be typical in doing what I tell you to do. I just give concepts. You need to carry it. And if you're not comfortable enough to call me by my first name, then you're probably going to second guess yourself on the field when you have freedom.
Is it,
So
Scott, is it part
that's a
of,
challenge I have.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just
Is
saying
it,
that's a challenge I have in front of me.
mhm, mhm. Is it
Go.
part of your leadership style?
Oh yes. I think I've learned that with age. Maybe part of it is going through with a disability and raising 5 kids, but it's come
Mhm.
out more in me. I think it's because uh, it took me, again, decades. I finally returned to that cocky guy who I was before an illness. I've been married now for 6 years to a wonderful woman who we met when we were teenagers, and then 40 years went by until we got together again. And since
Fantastic.
Sue, my wife Sue, since her, I've been able to, gosh, my best writing has come from this. My comfort level in speaking with podcasters and journalists has come from this, with speaking with my players, and my leadership has totally changed because I'm back to being confident.
Mhm.
I lost all that, Sid, after the
Yeah. Yeah.
disability. Yeah.
What kind of coach did you want to become?
Win. Let's be honest. Wanted to win.
It's fascinating. Sorry, it's really fascinating because when I was coaching, since I've been coaching for quite a long time, from the youth development program all the way to Olympic. My best mentor was Coach, the one and only Coach John Wooden, and the Pyramid of Success, and his Pyramid of Success.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter within that pyramid. Uh, um, you put aside completely winning. You put it completely aside,
Hmm.
and you focus on building
We
character,
both know.
building resilience.
I've read a lot of the same Wooden books that you have, and I've watched him many times. What he
Right.
was getting into was, he when he first showed up at UCLA, he had jack
Mm.
squat, but he built that. He built it,
He
and
did. Yeah.
that helped his confidence, and he had pride in it. And he just knew what was going to happen. His style. He knew what the end product was going to be. And we all know he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the heck out of it. So
He
winning,
did.
yes, but there's a lot that goes along with it. The fun of watching the kids learn and building something together. And then when it's torn down, the state championship team that I was working with a couple of years ago, those guys all went off to college. Some of them are playing in college, and they carried with them. Who knows if some of them might come back into coaching and what they may have picked up from me. And if there are some time, I might show up to one of their matches or something and kind of hear what came out of my mouth from them. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If they really did some learning.
Before the illness, your coaching career was really taking off. What did that period look like?
Boy. So I first started feeling ill. I had been invited to speak at a Nike regional camp. 100 of the top players in the Midwest, high school players, were there. National team players were instructing coaches from across the country. I mean, I had connections. Said it's not necessarily what you know, but who you know. And I had built up connections. A couple of years prior, I was in Holland, and for the second time, I met a gentleman by the name of Jan. And now, when I showed up in Amsterdam, here's Jan welcome me to come over and attend training sessions. And he was now the head manager with the Dutch Olympic team. Like, okay, this is cool. He asked me to play against them in a scrimmage. So these were opportunities that I was getting, and knowing more people and the success we were having. When I got sick, I started feeling bad at Nike, and what happened later. Recruiting, I had a great recruiting class coming in, and that goes along with me losing my confidence. We started to dwindle. We were nationally ranked, and we started by year 4 after the illness. I had to leave because it wasn't helping the program. We were still winning more than we were losing. It just wasn't the same. And I had to step away. So I guess you could look at it, and this is why the book has been brought up as a potential movie. And here we have, everything's going great for this guy, and then oops, and now he's down in the gutter. Because really, I was at the point of nothingness. Because there was a trial, a $10 million medical malpractice trial, 2 months after I resigned too. We lost that. So I was on food stamps, and maybe we'll get into that part of the story, which is what the second half of the book is all about. The turnaround. So yeah, there was high point, ooh, definite low points, and then boom, went back up.
During the high points, Scott, what were your ambitions at that time?
The plan, it always would take me 2 to 3 years to build a program. I said I never inherited a winning program. It was either a brand new program or it was a losing program. So it would always take 2 to 3 years, boom, build up, and then I would go someplace else. And that was going to be my plan at the university level at Division III here in Wisconsin. And then it would be, rubbing elbows with the right people, getting to know people, the right job opening up. The plan was not for me to go be someone's assistant necessarily at a Division I, but to jump right over for someone to want me because I had proven with my work at Division III level. And then I think it was going to be settle down time and really build something. Well, like Wooden did at UCLA. Same sort of thing. Yeah. So he did have a lot of influence on me.
Yeah. Looking back now, what did success mean to you then? Besides of winning?
Besides winning? Because also, I guess, by the time of the illness, I was 35. And I was starting to hear of former youth players, high school players, that had either played in college. Maybe they were starting to get out of college. Some of them were getting into coaching. That was kind of cool. And hearing that when some of them would officiate, I could come around and end up, could be one of the kids I had coached was an official. And then starting to hear about them being soccer parents as well. And so that is, it always made me extremely happy to hear those positive stories about kids. But there also were some bad ones too, Sid, that years after the illness and I left where I was, I had heard that one of my players had passed in a car accident not long after I had resigned and left.
Right.
So that sort of thing was very hurtful as well. And since then, I've heard of another another passing from one of my university teams. So we lived a lot together. We experienced life together. I didn't just hold any of those players at a distance. We worked together.
About leadership earlier, mainly your leadership style. We spoke about your main purpose by coaching. What kind of culture were you trying to build with your teams?
First of all, I had to come self-confidence. Once we had self-confidence, then we were going to have team confidence. And once you have team confidence, then you know that that's where everything comes from. Because when they're playing well together, because then it becomes self-rejuvenating, that the word will get out, especially now with social media. Word gets around about who's a bad coach, who's a good coach. And word has gotten around here in central Wisconsin that some of the things I'm doing. Oh yeah, 7 midfielders. Wow, that sounds kind of crazy, but you know what? Some of the players say, that sounds interesting. And if I were to get back at coaching at the college level, it would be interesting to challenge, because I've also seen where soccer has gone, Sid, and I think it's become pretty boring. It's so linear with the way they run things. I've seen a lot of training sessions that are just boring as heck, just running drills and things like that. I think that if I get back to the college level, I think that speaking with the better players, I think will want to be challenged in a system like this, and in a way that I open things up. We collaborate. It's not just you play for me. It's
Yeah.
let's collaborate together. Yeah.
Let's shift gear and talk about the illness. When did you first realize something was seriously wrong?
When I had to pull myself out of an exhibition match at Nike with and against national team players, I was loving it. I mean, I always would have loved it. I never would have taken myself out. That was telltale. Hey, that was something was wrong. I woke up the next morning. The whole night I was throwing up profusely in the bathroom, or shivering or sweating in my dorm room. So it was within there. I knew something was wrong. I was like kind of brushing it off. Oh, it was kind of temperatures were in the 80s. Maybe it's some heat exhaustion. But instead of going and trying to find a hospital, I went to my mother's house in southern Wisconsin, which was an hour and a half away. And she sent me over. And that's where we ended up getting into a trial, because I presented myself, took a temperature of 102.8. It's documented. They never run blood tests. So that's what carried us forward into medical malpractice trial. So it all comes down to, what happened at Nike. It sucked, because here it was, I was presenting myself to all the top players in the Midwest. I couldn't officially, according to NCAA the rules we have for colleges here, I couldn't, say, hey, come and play, let's talk about you playing for me or whatever, or come into our university. It had to be more subtle. It could be the straight salesmanship, and I wouldn't do that anyway. But yeah, that was the high point, man. That was the high point. And then waking up a month later from a coma to learn that I lost my hands and parts of my feet. Boom. How else do you look at it? It's just
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to basically get my head around. So you went to your mom,
mm.
then you got admitted. At what point did the doctors realize how serious your infection was?
My mother. So I showed up again the next day. They released me on day one. Just said, hey, drink Gatorade, you're going to be fine. No. I returned the next day and I was coherent, I was told. But it's funny how the mind works. And I think this actually probably was a good thing. Is I do not remember anything after my stepfather was pulling out of the driveway with me in the front passenger seat, and my mother looking at us with her hand over her mouth. She was that worried. I do not remember anything until I woke up. And I had I had learned of everything that was happening. There happened to be a doctor from the intensive care unit in the emergency room this time. And as soon as he saw me, he pushed me up to ICU, ran blood tests, and I was told that my organs were shutting down. I mean, septic shock. Maybe that has something to do with me not remembering. I don't know, but I was also told that I was cutting jokes, and that was me.
Yeah.
Just because I would probably be able to tell that everyone else is uncomfortable. So let's make light of it. But yeah, maybe someday it will come out. I don't know if I really want to go there, Sid. I
Mm.
think that my brain is saying, you're not going over here. You know, that's a dark area. We're not going to give you the key. And I don't
Right.
think I would want to go there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you spent about a month in medically induced coma. What do you remember
Yes.
from waking up, Scott?
Well, when I woke up, I couldn't move. So the first thing I thought was that I was paralyzed. And when I woke up, I started getting a feel for how long I was out because there were dozens of get well cards and stuff on the wall, taped to the wall. And there were Mylar balloons sagging. It takes a bit of time for a Mylar balloon to be sagging. So that's when I started getting the thoughts together. And it hit me that, damn, I think I missed going to Europe. I had a team of college players that a friend and I put together from across the United States, really good players going over to Europe. And I did learn later on, they won all three major tournaments. So I'd realized that, hey, the next thing is I have players that are going to be returning for preseason training. What's going on? And then doctor came in and, he dropped the bomb. And that's when I think I started down the rabbit hole towards depression, which I ran into really hard years later. And because how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? The simplistic thing that ran through my mind right away was, well, I'm done playing. I for some reason I locked onto that as, okay, that's done. But then when I also started doing the dumb thing, instead of thinking, all right. So basically in my mind, I couldn't talk either because I was intubated. I couldn't move, by the way, because I had lost 40 pounds through atrophy muscle. So I couldn't move. I was too weak. So my thoughts were running through my mind. And I couldn't convey it to anyone else. Be okay. Well, basically put me in a wheelchair and let me go back. Well, that was stupid. It was just so stupid. It wasn't realistic at all. Because I had 4 more months that I was in after I was being transferred over to rehab, try to learn how to walk and how to use prosthetic hands and
Yeah.
all of this stuff. That was really wow, that was a tough period. Yeah. And I faked all of it.
Yeah. How did your family react when you woke up?
Well, speaking of faking it, everybody faked it. I think everyone was aware that psychiatrists probably would be in and talking to family about how to deal with me after. And I think everybody fell into a routine, me being the leader, of not looking at the reality. It'd be, oh, everything's fun, right? Yeah, oh, yeah, okay, good. Yeah, and sorry to hear. And all these, friends, players, the university, that the team came in and visited me when I was in rehab. And everybody faked it. It's just everyone. I'm not blaming anybody.
Maybe,
I faked it too.
yeah, maybe it's a normal reaction. Because
A
have
loved
you,
one, yeah.
yeah, yeah, out of love, out of care, uh, did you ask yourself why me?
No, I've never done that, Sid.
Right.
No, I've never been mad. At the trial, I remember when the emergency room physician was up on the stand for a couple of hours, I never took my eyes off that man, though. I think that's as angry as I ever got with all of this. I just burned a hole through him because I knew what he didn't do. And that affected, I looked at it as, that's how I put it in the book too, was I think people would come away from the book thinking, how I felt it affected my family more than I felt how it affected me. Because it broke my family. It kind of pulled them together, but they had to do all these things for me. Here's one piece said, the 5 stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. In my writing, I added 3. One was fear, one was shame, and the big one was guilt. I think that Kubler-Ross should have had those three things in there. Guilt was huge for me. Part of that was, me was being in denial, but guilt was huge on me.
Yeah, yeah. For athletes and coaches, identity is often tied to the body
Mm-hmm.
and the mind as well. And
Yes.
quite often for some of us, it tied to the soul, but that's another topic. Uh, did you feel like you lost your identity?
Most definitely. Most definitely. And a longtime girlfriend and I had broken up. That's part of the reason why I ended up being free enough, feeling free enough to leave the high school and go to the college level. So I was single. I was focused on my career. I was not in a relationship. I haven't been on any dates for well over a year. And now, I went into who the heck's going to date me? That's how far my confidence level waned. I never thought of that. Why would anyone? And that's, it would chip away and chip away and chip away at my
Yeah,
ego. I just completely lost and depression came in.
it's tough, tough. Can't imagine
I
what you went through. Did you ever think your life in soccer was over with all the success you had before that?
don't think so. I don't think so. When we went into the adoptions, I left soccer for 20 years. I mean, I was up for the head coaching position at Gonzaga. I Part of the deal when I resigned and ended up leaving was I was breaking myself down in order to build myself back up. I went on food stamps. I worked for free as a assistant coach consultant for tactical side for a small college. The deal was he was going to try to help me get into a place, and he did as an assistant at Gonzaga. And then the full-time gig came up, and I was supposed to be up for that. And then I ended up going for some strange reason I still can't explain. Left the game, ended up being the full-time father for 5 kids. And then that's where the second half of the book comes in with my return to coaching and what I did with with a group of 12-year-olds. So no, I still stayed a student of the game, still did my reading, still watched, still formulated concepts and ideas on how I saw the game and how I would want to implement. I would write them down too. And I
How do you
ended up
rebuild
using them.
confidence? Yeah, yeah. And how do
Ooh,
you rebuild
ooh,
the
ooh,
confidence when
ooh.
everything familiar to you disappears?
I think I'm
Because I
sorry,
did ask
folks, but
you,
I
did
think
you ask yours? Sorry, I'm just trying
mm,
to for our listeners. You didn't ask yourself why me, why this
no,
happened to me, you know,
no.
midst of yeah. But what you went through, Scott, how on earth do you build confidence?
Time. It just really took time, adopting the kids, leaving soccer for 20 years. You might say that was the time. It really wasn't the time. I had been married at the time, and that relationship was not a good thing for me.
Mhm.
Very negative person, and I didn't need that. And when I got up the gumption and said, "The heck with this is done," and then got together with Sue again, the real me came back. And I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship. I had relationships with my kids, but that wasn't it. I had a relationship with soccer. That was part of it. Because just before Sue and I got together again, after 40 years, I started coaching these 12-year-olds. But there was also a process with these 12-year-olds, Sid, that was interesting. This was not, there was an A team, a B team, and a C level team at this club. It was one of those clubs that parents pay thousands of dollars their kids to go see. And I was told by the director of coaching, who never shook my hand, told me a lot about him, to just keep the parents happy. So maybe it was part of that as well that stirred the pissed off at this at me being mad about how dare you treat me this way and how dare you treat these kids this way. We're going to show you. So maybe it was that, but I think time and also relationship. Because again, the kids helped. I was not in a good relationship for 20 years. and leaving that relationship. Maybe it was that. I don't know altogether. A lot of things came together at the same point, though, Sid. Maybe that's what it was. But I
Yeah.
lost me for quite some time. I lost me.
Mhm. The rehab process can be tough, can be brutal, actually.
Mm, mm.
We spoke about rebuilding confidence on all that period. Hope was always there. The notion of hope,
Oh,
purpose.
yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there was early on the first rendition of the book and writing and then pitching it uh, to agents and the publishers. It's a heck of a lot of failure during that time, though. And then when I got together with these kids and we knew what we had as a new book and going through the process again, the initial process with writing, the initial book, which I think looking back, it kind of sucked. The way the storyline was similar. I never quit. It's like getting punched in the gut hundreds of times, reading, oh, sorry, great, thanks for contacting me, but I'm not interested. Going through that process, being beaten up, maybe that helped too, Sid. I don't know. But it never, it just, okay, part of it. I know that's part of the process of writing, trying to get a book published. And when I finally got a hold of a publisher that believed in what we were doing, that was part of the process too. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned your mom 3 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
There is a powerful moment, Scott, where your mother tells you to work hard and figure out how to move forward. How important was that moment for you mentally?
Boom, because she was just right in my face this early in the story, and how a small part of the family came to visit me after I woke up, and she told everybody to leave, and she had it out with me. Well, she didn't chew me out. I think it was also a belief. See, my mother, before she was even 20, was a war widow. She got married when she was 16, partly because she was mad at her mother, I guess. They're married at 16. He came home once during the war, World War II, and she became pregnant. So she was 19, a newborn. My older brother, Denny, was 4 months old and we saw the flag. We saw the telegram that she received when she was 19 that her husband was shot and killed in Germany. It was that 3 months before the end of World War II. And then she went on, married my dad, had more kids. He was abusive, so we grew up through that. She lived through it. She ended up divorcing the man, which is hard to do in the early 1960s. It was usually, hey, lady, just shut up. But then she worked 3 jobs, worked with all of us. She was the president of the League of Women Voters here in Wisconsin. Very proud when I learned about that from her. So by her telling me, I took it as, I believe in you. Don't you dare care what anybody else says or does. Now, Sid, I will be honest, I didn't follow that because I lost my confidence. But that was still something inside of me that she knew. She knew what was inside of me, what I'd be able to do. I mean, she passed a while ago. I think she was proud of me. She was around to experience my kids. And she saw, I think it was a pretty good father. I think that was the most important things to her. But I got back up on my feet continuously. I kept getting back up on my feet. I think she was proud of me for toughing it out, figuring out ways to move forward, which is what she told me. You're going to figure out ways to move forward. And that's what I did.
Did that message become a kind of a mission for you?
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But again, what you were saying was really interesting because it now hits me is because I wasn't angry, I never took that out on anyone or just became so driven that I didn't give a shit about anybody. I mean, I raised 5 kids though. So that anger was not inside of me, but the drive was. There is a difference. And I've definitely learned that in my life. there's definitely a difference between anger driving one and just desire or that ability not to quit and to deal with all those punches. That's truly what was inside of me. So not having the anger, I'm very glad for that. Very glad for that.
Yeah. So you stepped away from soccer and you raised 5 kids, adopted children.
Mm-hmm.
How did that change
Mm-hmm.
you?
Oh, I had fun, man. I mean, the oldest one that came home was 5 years old when he came home. My son from Ethiopia. And there's a quick little story with that, Sid, about humanity, man. So we held him back. He then, when he came home from Ethiopia, he already had a brother and a sister the brother was 1 week older than him. The sister was 1 year. So those two kids, when they came home from Romania the year before, had already started school. And we'd held him back a little bit. And we held my son from Ethiopia back a year. So at 6 years old, he was attending, well, we have kindergarten here. It's starting and it's half day. I'll never forget this. He went in mornings. I went around lunchtime to pick him up. And we were living in Olympia, Washington, which is the state capital of Washington State. And it's very white bread. And he is black. And all the kids in school, I think, were probably white. He hopped in the car because, again, I didn't go in and hold his hand and walk him out to the car or anything. This is how I treated my kids, meet you outside, that sort of thing. They can be responsible, even at that age. They have to be responsible. He hopped in the car and looked at me and said, Tata, and that was Romanian for father. So that's what I went by. Tata, when am I going to turn white? I mean, right there, it was, nothing has changed since I was a kid.
Wow.
Here is my son that wonders, when is he going to turn white?
Yeah.
He must have witnessed, being mistreated because of his skin color. And so it was little things like that I learned a lot from being a parent in that situation. And that angered me, but also it angered me more, not towards those kids that were probably treating him, maybe if somebody said nigger to him or something, I don't know. But more about society. I grew up through the civil rights movement. I was a child during the civil rights movement, and then the Vietnam War protests here in the United States, all of that. So to experience all of that, and as I grew older, kind of experiences thinking some of that was improved, to learn that from a 6-year-old and what he had just experienced. It told me a lot. I learned so much from that about, society kind of sucks, man. It does.
It is. It is. It's sad. It's sad. Yeah. The adoption process, was it an easy one for you, Scott, or?
Sorry. Oh, Romania took well over a year. I got to the point, Sid, where, because in Romania, the court system twice during the process took a month off for vacation, twice. It was frustrating. I got on the phone once and I tried calling around different embassies in Romania. I offered a bribe once. I mean, I was like, what could it take for me to pay you to help get this process done? Click, someone hung up on me, which really, looking back, was a good thing. That, wasn't a bad person on there that just wanted to take money. I wrote to Oprah thinking that she might be able to have some pull. I wrote to Colin Powell here, had a lot of pull. And Colin Powell was like, what the heck, as a father or expecting father, I guess, help this out. And then really a helpful person, Senator Patty Murray from Washington State, where we were living at the time. Her assistant said, she's going to deal with this within the week. And she did within a week. This is like a year and a half after we started the process. Said within a week it happened, man. It was okay. Process set. Get your plane tickets. Here you go. Okay, that was fantastic. That was Romania. Ethiopia was different. All three of those kids, one at a time. They all witnessed their parents die of AIDS. I mean, that was great learning lessons. I mean, it really felt good to help get these kids from bad situations and better situations. They've grown up. They're all in their 20s now, doing okay. I mean, it is the process. There is something to be said about nature versus nurture. Being a parent, I think it has more to do with nurture, shared experiences,
Yeah.
going through life together on how to handle things and putting those kids in that position to learn rather than just here, this is how you do it. But going through those processes, I learned a
Five
lot.
kids.
I-
Yeah, 5 kids. It's not small feat, Scott. I have 2 boys. We love them. And my God, that was
well,
yeah.
and they're all
It's
within 5
I'm
years of
just
each
trying
other.
to put myself in your,
It was
5 kids.
Sid. It was fun. I had a great
Love it.
time just
Yeah.
watching. But it also hurt. It also hurt that I
Okay,
couldn't
what's
go
your
out
recipe?
and shoot
What's your
basketball.
secret?
Just having a what the heck attitude. It just clean it up then. Somebody, oh, sorry. Like, just clean it up. If they made a mess in the kitchen, just go clean it up. Be responsible. That's all. You haven't made your bed in a week. So what's been going on in your life that you can't do with this? Again, that process of helping them put in a position to learn. Why can't you get this done? Really? I mean, think about this. And and also sprinkling in there, don't be afraid as you get older because you have a good work ethic. Don't be afraid to step over those that don't. And to pass that information on to kids as well. Yeah. So
Right.
there's no secret. I had a good time. Part of it was too. All right, here's the secret, Sid. They all came home after diaper stage. Ta-da. There you go. I never had to change a diaper.
Yeah, I miss
That was
those
part of
days.
it.
I need to confess,
Oh,
I
cool.
miss those days. I miss
Yeah.
those days because my
Yeah.
wife and I,
Yeah.
when they're little, we say, "Oh my God, I'm craving to sleep." Because the first thing you deal with it's lack of sleep. You know,
Yeah.
and older they get, their problems grow with them, man. But
Yeah.
then it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It
It's
is.
just I mean the
My
toughest thing for me was how do you treat them equally when it comes because everyone is pulling to everyone wants your attention
sure.
and you try to do your
Sure.
very best, and like we said earlier, there is no silver bullet when it comes to parenting.
No.
And it's but one thing I must say, it's a blessing. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a unique experience, put it this way.
Mhm.
It's a unique
Oh, it's
experience.
an experience, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
It's a unique experience. Yeah. And did parenting, Scott, helped you heal emotionally?
Not fully. Again, I think
Mhm.
being with Sue did that. No, but it helped. I mean, I wasn't in the line of fire as much in athletics. I wasn't in a position for me to think less of myself as much, but I went through a lot of hard times. I tended to view, use how I thought people saw me. That's how I lived. So I would be afraid at times of people seeing my prosthetic hands and all of a sudden being put in those situations of not knowing how to treat me. The male side of things on the male mortality was something I learned a lot. I think that before matches, when I would go up and shake the opposing coach's hand, most of the time it was male. A lot of times they would pull away and not knowing and I could also sense when they thought, oh, I got this guy. Something
Of
said,
strange.
and I've learned a lot
Strange.
from that. I think it shows something about the opposition, and I would use that to my advantage. Um, but I never experienced a pull away or anything negative at all from a female coach. Not at all.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just found that very interesting. Not just no difference, no treating any different on those situations at all. I never felt a benefit off of meeting a female coach before a match, like I did males that I could tell were weak.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
What sparked the decision to return to soccer and coach after all what you've been through and raising 5 kids?
Like I've talked to people about when they ask me about me all of a sudden going and leaving coaching to adopting 5 kids. I have no answer on how that came about. Something was pulling me. It was time for me to get back. My youngest was firmly into high school. Other ones, one was in the military, others in college. I mean, it was time. And I was bored. But I think also it was a weird mix. All of this stuff that came together with these group of 12-year-olds, I called my soccer rats because they were soccer rats that the other coaches thought were too small, and they didn't do drills as well. But damn, those kids could play when we really ripped off the leash that other coaches have been holding them onto. When that leash was gone, oh, I mean, it was just amazing. A group of people, myself included, that happened to come together at that time with what happened with those kids. That's where the movie comes in that's been brought up. I mean, this is, people read the book and that, we'll get into it, like, I wouldn't be afraid to mention what did happen with the kids and what we accomplished. It was just such a cool thing that really was a spark for me to get back into coaching. Ended up continuing doing what I did with those kids when I came back to Wisconsin. So me came back.
And stepping back onto the field, was it intimidating or?
Not at all. Part of it was that director of coaching that never shook my hand, that told me to just keep the parents happy. Well, there was my drive right there. That was the bad guy in the story. Don't you dare think that anyone should be. Don't you say what's going to happen before they have a chance to deal with it. We proved them wrong. And I always, that was fun. Proving that guy wrong and some other people along the way. I'll take that.
Yeah. Can you picture for me and the audience what was the players' reactions when they first saw you coaching with the prosthetics?
It's happened a few times when, after we're done working together, that a player would tell me, when I first met you, I was wondering, what the hell? What is this? No, a disabled coach, no hands. And they were, it throws them off. But it's interesting how many players I've had, the older ones, high school level especially, that would tell me that I want to write a paper about you. Do you mind? Oh, that's fine. So there's something that they get once they drop that curtain, they drop what disability, when they finally, Scott, seriously, he's disabled? I didn't notice. Once they come around to that, Sid, it's just amazing because I think also my story and my condition gives them more of a, if that guy can do it, why can't I, sort of thing. And I think I have an advantage there over, non-disabled coaches because, man, when players do pick this up, that, hey, you can do that. Well, we can do this and I can do that. So it's a group
Explain
thing
what kind
too.
of advantage. Is it more respect, more trust, more
Both. Yeah. It's belief. And especially when I start throwing them my concepts about the triangulation and how we're going to be, working through this total football sort of theory, and also working together and listening to them. I have a statement I tell players, I'm going to be asking more questions. I'm going to tell you what to do. So you better get used to it. And a lot of that is to put them on the spot. Well, I might ask them a simple question, but if they're uncomfortable responding to a simple question, then I know we have something to work on. And then
because we
comes
say
around. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Because we say we lead by example. So what your team, your players seen in you?
I hope that they see a proactive thought-provoking sort of leader that understands this game tactically and psychologically. Whether it's with my players or especially against the opposing players and opposing coach. I love that, Sid. Playing mind games with the opposing coach is a blast for me. Maybe it's maturity. I don't know what it is. I'm just a smart ass. When I'm confident, I know what we could do. We work towards something. So I think what the players, it's kind of when it becomes a mirror for them, it's not just a one-way mirror that they see me on as the opposite side. When it becomes more of a direct reflection upon themselves, when they pick up the confidence that I have and they've learned with me as a group and as individual players, it all comes together in something that's really, I don't know, Hollywood. It is. I've been learning this about just because of my disability, I'm projected as something else, but it also gives them something to overcome and to believe in more. Okay, I'm all right with that. If it helps, that's fine.
Let's talk about your book now. So your book is titled Play for Your Heart. What does
Play from your heart
mean to you?
Play from your heart came from something I've been saying, telling players since I started coaching. What I mentioned to them, here, this is our objective. Turn off your brain and play from your heart. So too long of a title for a book. But play from your heart, that second part, it fits everything. I mean, it fits, if I can step back more as objectively to look at the book, like the title fits what I went through, and the title fits with the statement that I said to the kids I started working with, which makes up the second half of the book. And it definitely fits. I think the reader will definitely pick it up, the overall storyline with what ends up happening with these 12-year-olds that no one believed in and what they end up accomplishing together. It comes from, especially now, here's one thing that's being picked up on, Sid, from anyone I'm talking to in interviews and stuff. This is a positive story in negative times. You're over in Europe, and I'm wondering, I don't think we want to get off on that. But here in the United States, with all the crap, what we're doing to people, this is negative times. And so this is a positive story in negative times that I think every time Trump does something that's negative, it actually, I think, is helping the book.
It resonates here as well. So like you said earlier, with the
terrible.
social media, it's trust me, it's look, it resonates here because I deal with those questions during supper around the dinner table, with the family.
Yeah.
It's I think 60% of the arguments and counter arguments is around what's happening out there and the effect it has. It has over here. So
Yes, and I would tell people there outside the United States, I apologize for what's going on.
You don't have to.
We hate it.
No.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Anyway, okay.
You don't have to. I mean, there is so much history from the First World War, Second World War, and we like it or we don't like it. We fought together. Our grandparents, would they be proud to see what's unfolding today? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They'd be disgusted. Yeah. We are. We're disgusted.
Yeah. And then you ask yourself why. What's the main purpose? Of course, it's
money.
Wanting more and more and more. It's just this purpose of wanting more, And like we say, we came with nothing, and we're gonna go with nothing. We're gonna leave with nothing.
Why not?
Just show more charity, more love towards each other. And, that's what's missing. Yeah. That's exactly what's missing. And we're gonna be judged
the book
by
is
that.
being. I wouldn't mind the way the book is being viewed right now. Okay, judge me on this. I'm fine with that because it is a damn good story. It's an uplifting story. It's to take you someplace else besides what's going on in reality.
So
this was real. Everything happened.
Yeah. With all what you went through, Tell me a little bit about the writing process. How on earth did you
Oh,
did you how did you start the book? The idea, how did it
mm,
did you start with the beginning and
mm.
then think about how you're gonna end the book, or yeah, how did it work?
Well, we actually in 2011 started the concept of the book, and I was looking for someone to work with me on it,
Mhm.
and which is the educator in me. I took on uh, someone that just graduated from University of California, San Diego, with an English degree, and what her future she wanted out of her profession. So I took her on as a partner, Corey Ann Hicks.
Mhm.
And we wrote the first rendition of the book, and the book went through from the same start, but the ending was the University of Pittsburgh still has, I believe, a program where they will do well, they'll they they were going to give me new hands from someone else. Okay, there was this program, and so the the end of the original book went into me going through the process with the University of Pittsburgh and them saying, "Yeah, we want you in the program." Pittsburgh Protocol was called, but the drugs would leave me prone to other illnesses, and the book ended with us having a family meeting and telling the kids about the drugs that I would have to take. I would be getting hands, and there was going to be a process with that as well. And the kids said, "We don't want you to do that. We love you the way you are, and
Right.
we don't want you getting sick and dying." Like, okay, so I didn't. You know, I didn't. So that's how we ended the original book, but it didn't have enough traction. So after I returned to coaching in 2018, and we do all of this with these kids, there we had a book. So we actually use the kids, the adoptions and the kids overall, is just a one chapter bridge between the whole early story and the second half. So that's blended. Some publishers are saying the whole thing's too long. So it's like, okay, let's use this as the bridge. So I guess when you do something that no one ever expects, and you have a story then that is kind of a tearjerker, but it's a good old fashioned, somebody got knocked on their ass and they got up and won anyway sort of story, then you have something. And I went through two different agents. I fired the last one because I didn't like what she was doing. And I said, I'm going to do this on my own. I went out and found a small publisher out of New York, Library Tales Publishing, who said, "Yeah, I like it. Let's keep going from it." And I tell you, the process of writing is one thing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with editors, and just fine tuning and everything. That's one thing. But the marketing aspect, this is a whole different animal, Sid.
Different animal, yeah. Yeah.
You're probably podcast number 45 for me. And we've been starting to get into magazines, like I think I mentioned earlier, someone from Goal magazine. It's nice to be getting sports talk, the soccer side of it as well. But it's really so many people are picking up it as a positive story in negative times. So I'm actually writing process, going back to your original, it's in the past. It's done. I mean, we're up for pre-sale everywhere. People can go into Walmart online and pre-order this book. Simon and Schuster is the distributor. It's everywhere, man, for pre-order. Um, Book drops on June 9, which is 2 days before the World Cup opener in Mexico City. And the timing is, everything that's been leading up to all of this is trying to get some steam and things going. But it's so different than what I thought. I thought it was going to be viewed as disabled book, soccer book, but it's really this positive story, negative times thing that's being picked up.
Right. What's the main takeaway from the book?
I hope people find it thought provoking. That was early on. But something else that's been picked up. I think it was the second time I received the book back from the editor. For some reason, I noticed, and I have music. I play music in training, and I have music throughout the book. 2014, maybe 15 songs that are mentioned. And so after I got it back from the editor the second time, I started reading electronically, of course. I opened another tab and opened Spotify, place where I when I came up to a book, so early on when Love and Happiness by John Mellencamp comes up when I'm driving to Chicago for the Nike camp, stop reading, and I go to Spotify and I plug in Love and Happiness, John Mellencamp, and boom, I listen to the song, and then I come back. So littered throughout the story are songs, and I'm suggesting to people make it a book that you can work with. You know, make it a book that's interactive for you. Stop, go listen to that song, then come back and reading it. So people are really going to be getting in the groove with the story. You know, like in the second half when I'm working with the kids and we're playing a song by Tab Benoit, a blues song, or R.L. Burnside, people can go listen to that and then come back and they, oh yeah, I think they'll get more of a feel for it. So it's really become an interactive book, which is surprising. And I love it.
Right.
Love it this
Yeah.
way. Yeah, it's cool.
Beyond the book, can we expect a documentary or maybe feature film?
It has been brought up. Someone I spoke with, again, it's not what you know necessarily, but who he knows. Someone that I was speaking with said, I know somebody from Disney. I'm going to take him this. We'll see. You know, it's just a shot. Let's see. The way the book ends does set up a second book, and that's actually kind of ready to go. But I've got to prove the point with Play From Your Heart. That has to be a proven commodity first. And then we see there's so much that might be happening, Sid. I have no clue on what's going to be going on, but this is really fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, marketing, but it's a lot of fun talking with people like you. Yeah, I don't know what your questions are, but you're asking them very thought provoking on your end, and this makes it very interesting and entertaining from my side as well. So I really thank what you're doing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. One more thing about the book, the editing process. Was it easy? Because I know how it is to work with editors. You know?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, all right. Part of what I learned about the male ego, I have a saying to players, be brave enough to suck at something new. So I've always believed in that. And I've been, I think, a pretty good male. Not, you know, my ego doesn't lead me all the way, and I'm not a jerk about things. Editing process, it's kind of like when you're querying agents and publishers, you better have thick skin. Because when it comes back, and the first editor was a young lady by Sydney. She's also an amazing singer. Mm-hmm. And she'd come back with, I didn't think about it that way. That's really cool. And she actually helps the ending make the book seem more like it's kind of a journal that I'm sharing with the reader, the way she ends the book. She asked one simple question, and guess what? She asked that, and then the ending comes. So by Sydney putting that in was, this is amazing. She was really fantastic to come up with ideas on the direction. We gave it a little bit different direction, different polish to make it more of a shared, because she read that I lay everything out, all my emotions are there. I have to, or else it's not helping anyone. And she got the gist of me sharing all of this with the reader, and she really brings it home with, this is me writing for the reader and sharing this for the reader, and ask the question at the end, and guess what? So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Scott. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Thanks, Sid.
After your experience, you became an advocate for disability awareness. What misconceptions still exist about disability and performance?
I'll tell you one thing, and I've shared this with people across the pond in England that are disability advocates. They think the same way that I'm learning, and I'll agree with it. The disabled community is splintered. There's no organization with it really much at all. Deborah Rue, who leads Billion Strong, I work with Deborah. She's great at stuff. But I always ask the question within the disability community, why don't you just follow the map laid out by the LGBTQ plus community? And look how successful that is. We turn on television and we see it all the time in ads. I mean, also in ads where you have a mixed marriage. That's become pretty normal. But still with disability community, I think because it reminds people of their own mortality, that it's, yeah, sometimes you'll see someone in a wheelchair. I mean, that's it. Usually the most accepted view. Someone like me, haven't really seen it. Yeah, I'm not mad about it. I'm trying to ring the bell to folks, wake up. Hey, what about this group? Speak up. Let's have it become a little bit more mainstream. And maybe from the book, and especially if a film comes from it, there you go. That then it's going to be forced to become more the norm, unless people don't go watch it, I guess. If nobody pays to go watch the movie, then it gets no traction at all. But there's an opportunity here through Play From Your
Depend
Heart
of the story.
for the disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Depend on the
yeah,
theme and the story. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And within our industry, the sports industry, are sports organizations doing enough to support athletes with disability?
Very happy with what happened after the Olympics. I
Which
mean,
one?
with
The
a
Summer Olympics
disabled,
last year or
with the Winter Olympics just last month,
yeah, the recent
with
one,
what carried on,
Mm.
yeah, with what carried on with the disability Olympics, basically. That thing has been phenomenal. FIFA has been working with a group. They're actually supporting the World Amputee Football Federation. They have a World Cup in August. So after the Men's World Cup is done in July, there's an amputee World Cup I don't know if it's the first time or not, but FIFA is behind it, as in they're putting money into it. There's the American Amputee Football Association has a team that is going to be there. I've watched a couple of their matches, and technically it's similar to basic soccer, but it's just amazing what people can overcome. Basically, it's this, the amputee World Cup or football players are a person missing one leg and using crutches. So imagine that, and trying to get around. But it's just freaking amazing with what they're able to do with it.
It is.
And with
It
one
is.
foot, but yeah, the stability. But you have to have very strong shoulders and arms to be able to deal with it. So there's, physiologically, it makes some sense on if you're strong in these areas and what you would be able to accomplish. But that's something that's also out. I don't know if it's going to be picked up by anyone, on television wise. I don't know if ESPN or anyone's going to be grabbing it.
My take on that, my issue, and I spoke about this issue quite often. My take is adaptive and Paralympic athletes train just as hard as any Olympic athletes, and
Yeah.
quite a lot actually. It's a fact. It's absolutely a fact.
Mhm.
But the issue is many people feel that the recognition, media coverage, and sponsorship investment are still far behind, Scott. That's the issue, what it is. And it
Yeah.
goes back to
It's
yeah,
money.
it's money, but then put it this way. Look, I'm not pointing a finger on anybody. I'm just laying it down as it is.
Mhm.
We watched the last year's Paris Summer Olympics and the Paralympics. They were absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
Recently in Milano Cortina, the Winter Olympics in Italy, amazing. Everyone glued on the TV, following their favorite athletes or teams and things like
Mhm.
that. Then closing ceremony, same thing. And then the attention, the interest when it comes to adaptive to Paralympic,
I get it.
Uh,
But maybe there is this mortality thing, Sid.
but
It
wait a
reminds
second.
people what can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, when we talk about, look, I've been talking about this issue. When you look at the show on a pitch, on a field, on downhill slalom track in Winter Olympic, these guys, the show they put, it's absolutely
Oh, yeah.
outstanding. If we talk about the product itself, the athletes are actors. The show is epic. It's there,
Mm.
It's just this lack of media interest. It's there. Look, we can talk about this for days. I
Yeah.
know the issue inside out. The decision makers, the various governing bodies of each sport, including the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, they need to talk about this openly. We said that the problem is money. Now, to get the money, you need to interest the sponsors, the brands. To interest the sponsors, you need to make sure that the marketing prior to the major events, it's well advertised, publicized, and things like that. And do a lot of work, a lot of documentaries prior to those games about disability, about adaptive sport, boost the awareness. Just take this misconception that everyone has about disability, about adaptive sport. Talk about technology, for example, the creation, the innovation. How do we use those breakthroughs to make sure those athletes that works quite hard, twice as hard as a normal athlete, in terms of delivering a good show. That's what we're missing, Scott.
Well, there's, what is it? I read 1.3 billion people in this world are disabled. Can you imagine the amount of money that those people have for buying power? But I think it does have to do with reminding people of their own mortality when it does come. But you also need to have, it becomes in the norm. And I've been saying this on any disabled podcast that I'm on in that category, that it has to come down to education. Because how I've been treated, and again, going back to the handshake before a match when an opposing coach did the pull away, it has to be, it's not that people are rude or mean towards it. I think, again, the mortality, they're reminded of this might happen to them. And also there has not been an education involved. So people like me, maybe that's what's one of the things that's supposed to happen with Play From Your Heart. I don't know. Maybe that could be a tipping point. If it is, fantastic. I want to be part of that. It has to come down to education, like what you were saying. People need to be educated with the disabled community.
I did ask someone quite known within sporting organization. I said, how about we switch? We start with the Paralympic games before. Why we don't start with Paralympics, with adaptive sports? Instead
the
of
first thing comes to my mind. Yeah, but all the camera equipment and everything. I don't know, because it really, if you look at, I don't know, because maybe it would be easier because you're doing dry runs with utilizing cameras and your announcers and things. They're going to be better by the time the Olympics happen. You're still going to be using the same equipment for the Paralympics after. You have a good point.
And
I think logistically, yeah, it might make more sense that way. It might actually, if it made more sense financially, then you actually might see it. I think that's where it comes down to. It's almighty dollar or krona or pound or whatever. I think it still comes down to that.
When there is a will, there is a way.
Yes.
That's what it is. And I think the will is not there. The will is not there, and we can frame it, we can market it as much as that we are doing our very best. No, we are not doing our very best. I'm sorry. We are not talking about these issues seriously. Again, it goes back to merit. Let's put the disability on the side. Those athletes, they work twice as hard. I know it.
Yes.
They work twice as hard to be on the top, physically and mentally.
And the disabled should be hired more too.
Yeah.
They work harder.
The same recognition.
Okay.
Period.
Agreed.
That's my take, Scott.
Yeah.
Like the initiative of Invictus Games that was launched by Prince Harry. Yes, it's a good initiative for the veterans, for the, it's a fantastic initiative. But again, when you talk about elite sport and Olympic Games and representing your flag, your country, being on a podium, watching your country flag going up, listening to the national anthem and stuff like that, it's all personal. It's all personal. You're proud to be there to represent your country. But then the minute you turn your back, you don't have the same recognition. You don't have the same bonus. You don't have the same salary. You don't have the same advantage. That's what I'm talking about. Because on merit, they deserve to represent their countries. We need to treat them as any other top athlete, period. Full stop.
Yeah. Show some respect, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Show respect.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope this will resonate with our audience, and I hope if there is any decision maker within any sport listening, please do your very best to not to lobby, but to talk sense, truth. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good.
Scott, at one point you coach a group of young players to an undefeated state championship. What made that team special?
Oh, well, part of it was the way the schedule was, Sid. So I inherited these kids in, say, April, back in 2017. And so I knew what was going on. They lacked confidence. So we put them in this, how I train players, with the focus that the summer was all about tournaments. We had 5 tournaments. So, and then it was start the fall into the next year, 2018, that they would play 18 matches for state league. So I knew we had the summer to focus on this stuff. But it was interesting. Here's one little story in it, that our very first match in the very first tournament, we won. And I saw that as actually as a learning opportunity. Some people might say, why would you do this? But I saw it as being very important because we had the entire summer. I knew what was going to happen in match 2, because these kids went from lacking confidence to arrogance. Like, oh, well, they need to get their asses kicked next, and that's going to be fine with me. I'm going to let that happen. And exactly what happened. I think the second match might have lost 3-0, 5-0, something. They lost. That was, okay, so what did we learn from this, fellas? Oh, okay, and they started getting it. So we advanced during that tournament. Tournament 2, we advanced and lost in the semifinal or something. But the final 3 tournaments, we made it all the way to the championship match, into the final. But they lost all 3 finals, Sid. They lost all 3 finals. And at the end of that summer, I was instructed to do an individual meeting with each player and their parents. And the final question of every single meeting I had with those kids was, tell me about it, how it felt to lose that last match, the last final. And every one of those kids was mad. They were pissed. We're done. That's not going to happen anymore. And I knew then, said that they were no longer lacking confidence, because if you lack confidence, you're not going to get mad at losing and the disappointment in that, the feeling of it, even explore the feeling. They were mad. I got them. And the first match of state league too. All right, quick little story. We're up 1-0 with 4 seconds left, because I always check my watch with the officials. 4 seconds left. Ball comes at our goalkeeper. He hits it over the goal, but ends up, someone ran into him and he fell down. The referee stops the watch. 4 seconds left to take a look at the players. Our goalkeeper popped right back up. But the problem was they had a corner kick now with 4 seconds to go. And I said to my assistant, oh man, I do not like this. And here's what happened, folks. There's some Hollywood for you. Ball served, comes into the box. As the whistle blows, the ball goes into the back of net, and we end up tying our very first match of the season. Those kids here, they went through this again. You're winning, and then this is just ripped from you. But I tell you, we went undefeated. 18 matches, undefeated. Proved everyone wrong. I mean, during the summer, the A team never wanted to scrimmage us. The B team, Jose was the coach, and we'd get together on Wednesdays. They beat us the first time. We got to a point where we tied. We got to a point where we beat the B team. So it all was a progression. And one of the most fun experiences I've ever had in soccer was doing this with these kids. At the end of the year, when we meet in the auditorium with 1,000 people in there with all the players and the parents of these families. And I'm able to kind of lay one on the director of coaching. I cut on him indirectly, of course, because I am a gentleman. It just felt good to prove a point and to do that for those kids. And their kids are all now in their 20s, and I would hope that they still remember what they did.
Yeah. Were there parallels between their journey and your own?
Most definitely. Most definitely. I was lacking confidence. I was still lacking some confidence when we got together. But I think be, that must have been a tipping point. If you look at this psychologically, it must have been a tipping point for me, Sid, that if I have to do this for these kids, I have to prove something for these kids. I can't let these kids witness me lacking confidence when they're lacking confidence. I have to be the one to stand out and to lead. So that definitely went hand in hand, no pun intended, with what I was going through in my life. Because that's part of what really, and then getting together with Sue. I mean, all those things roll together into one that I can't say specifically what was the one thing that tripped me back to being me. But um, confidence has so much to do with athletics and just being human that it helped the kids and me.
And leading those kids, I'll go back again to your leadership style. So you knew at that time the main reason in terms of failure, in terms of lack of confidence, why they're not performing, and what to do, the remedy.
Yeah.
Your approach, your style, was it more empathy slash accountability, or accountability more than empathy, or empathy? Because you're doing a one-to-one, kids, parents, athletes, parents, yeah.
Never thought about this. I think empathetically, I had to be empathetic, and I had to make sure the kids felt that. So by having that as a base, I think we could then build confidence. So it goes back to what the hurdle I have with these under 19s that I'm working with now, these guys I'm working with. I need to get them to start calling me Scott. That we're on the same level, guys. Please treat me at the same level. Trust. Because once we get that, then we have everything. Now, going back, and I say it in the book too, the kids, those soccer rats of mine, those 12-year-olds, they started calling me Scott from the start, because that's how I laid it out to them in our very first meeting. We're going to be working together, so please call me Scott. And they did. And that maybe that team of 12-year-olds has an advantage over these under 19s that I'm working with now, because some of them still might not, might still be calling me coach. But find out when we finally start getting together outside. I need to get them to come around to accepting me as on the same level with them. Even if, so pull them up or pull me down. I don't care how you look at it. We're working together on this. We have to have that camaraderie.
Yeah. How do you deal with parents, or how you dealt in the past with parents? And talking about parents in terms of
straightforward,
how invested they are,
yeah,
the ego, the interest.
yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
I was working with some under 10s. Yeah, no, right from the start, it's, you got to be responsible, reply to what I say. There might be, here's the thing that I'm picking up. I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to be asking each one of my players this year to kick in $5 that they earned or from their savings to kick in, because we have our goalkeeper bought his field player uniform because we don't have an official goalkeeper. And he has experience. He said, yeah, I'll play. So I went out and I ordered him a couple of tops. I ordered him a couple of kits and gloves, and I'm not going to pay for it. I don't think he should pay for it. So here's one thing that's coming up is, all right, everybody, I want every player to kick in $5 to cover the cost of getting the kit, the goalkeeper gear for our goalkeeper. So he doesn't have, that's not fair. So that's a little technique I've used in the past too, of getting kids to kick in. I was working with some kids last year, and I was doing it of the level that I didn't have a team captain or team captains. It was every match, we had a different team captain. So I went out and I bought the captain's armband. I said, well, in order to pay for that, everybody has to kick in 50 cents. Everybody kick in 50 cents. Parents, not from you. If they do ask for money from you, they have to go do something. They have to do a special chore, that's outside of what their usual duties are around the house. That kid has to bring me 50 cents that they earned or is from their savings. So they have to kick in. That's one of the
Like
little
it.
tricks that I've learned
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Great. You are listening to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk. For more conversations on sports leadership, faith, performance, and innovation from Sweden to the world, visit prezerosportstalk.com. Now it's time for our lightning round, Scott.
Oh,
Ready for speedy
let's do it,
Q&A?
man. Let's go, bud.
Favorite soccer player of all time?
Easy, Johan Cruyff. Johan Cruyff. What a master. He's just, especially I got to learn when he went into coaching, like with Barcelona, and that's who I take a lot of my theories from. Is Johan Cruyff. Wonderful player.
Good. Favorite stadium you coach in?
In the book, we do have one match in the stadium where these kids in Bellingham, Washington, where the book ends up. There are 3 high schools there, and there's a stadium where all of them hoping that they will play in high school. Remember, they're 12-year-olds during the book that they would play in. So that to me, I think had a special appeal. And I remember presenting that to those kids with that match. Boy, they played well, and they killed this other team. And I think a lot had to, this is going to be your home stadium when you play in high school. So enjoy this. So that had that special meaning to me. Me as a player, though, growing up, wanting to play football was one of the things. American football at University of Wisconsin, I wanted to go and play football. Was Camp Randall Stadium, which is a so very well historic stadium here in the United States. When I was playing in college soccer, we ended up playing the Badgers, and I got to play in Camp Randall. So I played soccer, not American football, but I got to play in Camp Randall. Yeah, that was great. I loved it. Yeah.
Nice. Coffee, tea, or something else?
Coke Zero. I used to drink Coke Light, Diet Coke. It's all. Sue and I went. We were in Europe a few years ago, and they would look at me kind of funny way and say, Coke Light. You mean Coke Zero? I was like, okay. And we finally now here it's a regular thing here. So Coke Zero. I can't stand the taste of coffee, Sid. There's something about bitter taste. Sue drinks dark beer. I can't handle dark beer. So she kind of calls me a beer pansy because I can't. It's just, I'm a super taster for bitter. I can't handle bitter. So Coke Zero is my go-to.
I can't function without coffee. Sorry. Can't. Just can't.
I get caffeine too. Yeah.
A song that motivates you or get you pumped up?
I will say, and people would have to look this up, a gentleman by the name of R.L. Burnside. The album is Come On In. And I mentioned this in the book, and this is one of those I hope people go listen to anything on R.L. Burnside's Come On In album. I once heard it on a famous show, and it surprised me, where a woman presented her granddaughter with a CD, and it was R.L. Burnside. It was Come On In, and says to the granddaughter, this tells everything about life. Holy crap. Yeah, that's how I feel about that album too. So it's not just one song, but anything on R.L. Burnside's Come On In. It's an amazing album. It's blues. It's really deep blues that's,
Nice.
To me, represents soccer, and I like to play it during our training sessions. Yeah.
Nice. Favorite book outside sports?
Anything by John Wooden. You mentioned John Wooden. I've read a lot of his stuff, and I relate to it so well, and I get so much from it that, by now in my career and stuff, that it just, when I read things by John Wooden, it just solidifies my beliefs because our beliefs are parallel to each other. So anything by John Wooden would do it. Yeah.
One leadership habit you practice daily?
Get my work done. Get my work done. Yeah. I want to stay on top of everything.
Yeah. Best advice you ever received?
Wow. I think without words, it was learning from my mother about work ethic and the importance of family, just absorbing, again, not being told, but just absorbing work ethic and family from toughest woman I've ever known. It's my mom.
Worst career advice you ever gotten?
Worst career advice?
Mhm.
Poof. Uh, Here we go. Um, any athletic director that has not hired me because of, probably, they wouldn't admit to this, but because of my disability. I know that's happened. I've
Yeah.
been discriminated against. And there's an example in the book, two examples I give in the book of how that happens from an athletic director. So it's not advice, but that's hard lesson in, are you kidding me? You know, how you would treat someone. But yeah.
Yeah. Favorite sport to watch beside of soccer and American football. So let's put these two aside.
To watch though, I've lost my ability to really watch NBA. I don't like that anymore.
Mhm.
Baseball, I can
Interesting.
I could take a
Uh,
good no, I could take a good nap watching baseball, Sid. Uh, Even though I do love playing fantasy baseball. Um,
mhm.
I enjoy watching something like curling during the Winter Olympics. It's always, oh,
There we
curling's
go.
on, and I would find myself watching that. It's
It's a tough
strategy.
sport, Scott. Huh? It's a difficult sport. People think it's
Eh,
easy. It's not.
no, no, no. And see, it goes along with my view of soccer with angles and percentages. That's how I break soccer down in angles and percentages. So it plays off of, you know, your first throw affects their first throw, which affects your next throw, and then you're always looking ahead. So there's similarities, folks, I think, between curling and soccer.
If you could have a dinner with a historical figure, who would it be and
Mhm.
why?
Part of me wants to say Adolf Hitler and say, why the hell are you doing this? But I guess we could say that about my president right now, too. I think just of enjoyment. I did attend a banquet where I was one table away from Pelé. And I could just, his presence radiated. It wasn't at my same table, but I was at the table right in front of his. And because he was on the front table speaking, but I was right in front of his. So, uh, yeah, Pelé was just an amazing experience being around him.
Right. If you could coach any historical figure, who would it be?
Oh, Cruyff, because it would be, I would, I would, I
Or
would, I would hope that he would say at some point, well, we're thinking the same way. I would love to hear
we're
that
the
coming from
same.
Cruyff. We're thinking the same way. It's like, oh crap, really? Love. But yeah, I once read that there's a difference. The line between crazy and like, I don't know, an amazing, knowledgeable person like Cruyff,
Mm.
it's a thin line. And I've had people think some of the things I do is crazy. And then players, well, proven that some of those same crazy theories do work in winning a couple state championships. So I'd like to hope that I'm on that good side of that thin line with someone like Cruyff. I hope so.
Fantastic. Scott Martin, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insight with us on resilience, leadership, coaching, and playing from the heart.
Thank you. Thanks, Sid. Appreciate it, buddy.
Your story reminds us, Scott, that adversity does not define us. What defines us is how we respond. And before we wrap up, I would like to share a few words with our audience from Jimmy Volvano. Once said,
Hmm.
cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. And I think, Scott, your story reminds us that when we lead from the heart, no obstacle can take away our purpose. Thanks a lot.
Bravo. Bravo.
We want to thank you for joining our show. If you enjoyed this episode, we have more for you. You can now watch the entire episode on our YouTube and Spotify channels. While you're here, subscribe and don't forget to tap the bell. Visit prezerosportstalk.com to explore more conversations on sports, leadership, faith, performance, and innovation. From Sweden to the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and make a difference. We'll see you soon. Take care.